This is the Game Changers Experience. Deep dive conversations with leading business disruptors, Olympic athletes, celebrities, entrepreneurs, and influencers from around the world. This show will teach you insights about the winning principles in mindset, productivity, marketing, branding, entrepreneurship, business strategy, and more. Hosted by productivity authority, business strategist, former elite athlete, author, and public speaker, Adam Strong.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another amazing podcast show and this amazing episode. Today is going to be absolutely epic. I'm going to introduce our guest very, very shortly. For you guys that are listening in on the live show, of course, we're going to be putting up useful links below. And for you guys that are listening on the podcast, of course, put all the show description notes and any links to today's guest for today, which actually brings me to, I'm going to introduce our guest because really, really cool guy, someone that actually been following each other for quite a number of years, haven't had the opportunity up until now, right? Until now, where we've had the opportunity where we're going to be like, you know what, let's just jam, have a great conversation. So who's our guest for today? So our guest for today is a guy called Gary Das. Gary, entrepreneur, coach, he's a best-selling author, he's a podcaster. And, it's interesting because Gary's experience is actually in the financial sector. So on mortgage brokering, that's where his kind of like bread and butter was. In 2006, he founded Active Finance, built a figure business, built a business that he hated, which we'll talk about, of course, and then went through this what I call transition of change during 3 years, and then created another spin to the business, which is more kind of helping financial advisors and consultants build a business that they love, and you can effectively create a lifestyle the way that you want to create a lifestyle. What is Gary's big mission? Is very, very simple. It's to help you guys increase profitability, but to be able to live life on your terms effectively, right? And one of the things about Gary, and again, these are three things that, again, as observations from my perspective, is number one, he's authentic, right? So you'll know, being an avid listener, that we have really authentic leaders. Gary is one of those. He fits right into the box. Number two is he shares vulnerability. And I love that. It's one of the big strengths of a leader, sharing vulnerability. He shares it on his social media links. He even talks, and I love that about him. It's really great. And number three is that he really cares for people, and that's the reason why he's on here today, because we can have a great conversation. We share very similar core values. Some of the things that we're going to be talking about today. So just give you some useful insight. We're going to be talking a little bit about some insights about the world of the financial world. So where it all started for Gary, really, we're going to try and get a little bit more what the catalyst was around that. We're also going to be talking a little bit about some of the sacrifices that he made when building a business that he hated, right? So we're going to be talking a little bit about that because you guys might be in a situation which is similar, right? And how he got out of the rut, okay? We're going to talk about relationships and the knock-on effect to relationships, should we say. We're also going to talk a little bit about his thoughts and feelings subconsciously. Literally, I have planned a session where, well, he doesn't really know this until now. But we're going to really do a deep dive here, like a real deep dive. And hopefully you guys are going to get some useful insight. I know he's a great storyteller, and he's going to hopefully share with you guys some of his struggles and adversities that he's made throughout the years. And trust me, there's a lot. There is a lot, right? So you're going to be, depending on when you're listening to this, right? Whether it be in the gym, whether it be on the train, whatever it is, hopefully you'll get some useful insight. Now, for you guys that are listening into this live, make sure you use the hashtag live, use the hashtag replay. Feel free to share, comment in the comment section below as well. We're over on Apple, Spotify, and on Google. But actually, Google are actually getting rid of that platform. They're using YouTube Music, actually transition and change very soon. So listen, that's the format out of the way. So let's bring the man on the show, Mr. Gary Das. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much indeed for having me. And now I feel like I've got really big boots to fill based on that introduction. So Yeah, hopefully I do everything you said justice.
How's it going, buddy? It's really good. It's really great to be on here anyway. So, really looking forward to today's conversation, man.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming, and I appreciate you giving me the time, and obviously your audience giving me their ears.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. And, it's interesting because, you know, just because people don't comment, right? Um, you know, people are always watching. And I kind of use that analogy. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm always watching you, not like I'm copying you, emulating you. I'm curious because you're a curious kind of guy. And it's just interesting because you are great at sharing some of your highs and some of your lows. And anyone that says, and I don't give a shit what anyone says, and maybe you'll detest to this. Is it easy being an entrepreneur in a business? Really?
Is it easy being an entrepreneur in a business? No,
No.
definitely not. Is probably the
Yeah.
simple answer. I would definitely say that the longer you are in it, it becomes easier, but every
Mm.
new level has a new devil.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. It's a great line. That love that. And back in the clubhouse days, and even listening to even the people that come out of the woodworm that are like 7, 8 figure business owners or whatever it is that say, "Oh, it's easy to run a 6 figure business." I don't, I don't agree with any of those statements. Like all of these kind of, statements of, you can grow a 7 figure business in a couple of weeks or whatever it is. Let's be realistic. Let's be fucking realistic. Come on, Rome wasn't built in a fucking week, ladies and gentlemen. So no, not a business either. So anyway, rant over, Gary. Let's get back on.
I love
Let's
a
get
rant.
back on. You love a good old rant. I want to get some insights because I know that you started back in 2003, 2006 when Active Financial came into play. But love to kind of get some like useful insight in the world of gay and what the kind of catalyst was when it came to like jumping ship of maybe kind of like thinking to yourself, well, I could have got a job, but decided to open a business. Kind of like what was the beginning like for you? What was, was there an identity crisis going on? Like, what's the insight there?
I'm quite fortunate that for as long as I can remember, my dad has been self-employed.
Mm,
And growing up, my parents went through really hard times, kind of between the ages of around about 6 and sort of 15 for me. So, I was doing like Northfield Market in Harlow and boot fairs with my dad every Saturday and Sunday. And it was just a chance to, kind of hang out. Little did I know that I was developing proper good sales skills at such a young age. But when I had several temporary jobs after college and knew that I wanted to go into work, I'm built for office work and not really built for any trades or anything at all along those lines. And after earning 60, 70,000 at about the age of 18, 19, and squandering most of it, it just came to a point where dad said, go and work for a bank. And because of my sales ability, I progressed really quickly with the Woolwich. They said, you need to become a mortgage advisor. And then they moved me to a branch called Southwood in town or a village called Southwood and Ferris, where the age demographic doesn't need any mortgages. So I sort of started a journey of jobber hopping, really. I went from there to Connells to Alexander Hall. And my last employed role in 2005 was for a guy called Pete running a company called One Trust Mortgages. There was me and a girl called Emma. And within 11 months, we were specializing in adverse bad credit. It was around about the time that Money Supermarket came around, and we were doing £100,000 a month within 11 months. And I was sales and compliance. Pete was leads and marketing, and Emma was back office and customer service. Uh, and I just said to my dad in the November, can I have £2,500? I know how to buy a lead, name, and a number. I want to go self-employed. And that effectively just sort of kicked me off. And I always say this to people. Lots of people reach out to me because of YouTube and stuff where I talk about becoming a mortgage advisor, like corporate background, high level training in the sense of, having a manager up my backside if I wasn't doing my appointments or converting the insurances or maximizing every opportunity. Then running a business for somebody else and pretty much running the whole kind of ship and being mentored in running that ship. I spent 2 years as a mortgage broker off of the, out on my dining room table for a couple of years because why not? It was an easy start to business, but I was gun ho ringing friends and family and, trying to leverage every which way possibly I could to get a booked call. But it was the best start to self-employment, having sort of gone through that transition over sort of 3-4 years.
Love that. Some good stuff there. And I suppose because you already had that experience in knowing how to bring leads in, but then the market can then change, can't it? Just because one particular lead generation strategy worked, say in 2003, doesn't necessarily it's going to work in 2005, right?
Mate, I because we were doing adverse credit, I carried on doing the adverse credit and buying those leads, names and numbers. And then what happened in 2008? We had a crash of the economy crashed. America went to shit. January
Yeah.
2009, I had no business. So
Right.
there was no mortgage leads to buy. There was no lenders to give mortgages to. So that then led me to the diversification of what else can I do? Life insurance, critical illness, and income protection, which was the business that I built over 7 years and made huge amounts of mistakes, and essentially ended up building, a business that I hated and had me
Mm.
financially trapped and emotionally and mentally trapped. To be fair,
Interesting. When you are built with regards to the sort of active financial side of it,
yeah, mate.
I mean, what was the kind of like, I don't know, thought patterns there? Was it because you started in mortgage brokering and obviously the financial crash came in and stuff like that? Was you forced to kind of like, rather than kind of deciding on building a business that went parallel, horizontal, that you had to then go kind of like wide in terms of like product offering and stuff? Was that kind of the thought behind that?
Yeah, so we'd always been doing mortgages. Bad credit mortgages was kind of the title. That's what I did for Pete as an employee, and then did for myself for a couple of years. And I'd always
Mm,
offer life insurance, critical illness, and income protection as an upsell. In a business sense, you want to have your ancillary products that you're offering off of the back of your core product. Life insurance,
yeah.
critical illness, income protection, home insurance always went in alignment with that. And it was, when I was sitting there in 2009 going, what the hell am I going to do? It was like, well, what do I know a lot about? What have I done before? Right, life insurance. So then I started buying life insurance leads. And it was completely different to, everybody
Mm,
needs life
mm,
insurance, but nobody wants it. So it was, and selling it off of the back of a mortgage was, much easier to do than someone who's submitted a life insurance for inquiry, life insurance inquiry online. So
mm,
it required a change in mindset, change in skill set, learning new techniques over the phone. My self-employed journey started with me buying leads in the most valuable postcodes. And then I was like, well, I'll
mm.
travel to their house. That was sometimes an hour and a half in the car. And I was like, well, I'm now maxed out because I can't, travel. So I was buying them all around Watford and the M25.
Right,
Um,
right.
Sometimes you get stuck in traffic for 3 hours. So I was like, right, now I've got to do it over the phone, and can I do it over email? And slowly but surely sort of clawed back some time to make more business, do more business. So when the life insurance kicked in, I was very much a telephone based advisor with people that were comfortable buying inquiries off the internet. And then sort of started to scale that model really after that.
Mm. When you were buying the lids and stuff like that, I mean, what did you I mean, it's such a hard job. It's a bit like, back in the day when you had someone knocking on your door and selling, windows and conservatories, right? I guess
I've
it's
done
the
that.
same kind of analogy. Exactly. Being a sort of a market trader and doing did you find that particularly challenging, like, emotionally, because you'd only get so many, like, no's. I mean, you travel, like, an hour and a half there, an hour and a half back, say, as an example, and at the end of it, like, nothing came off the back of it. How disheartening did it become? And, did it drive you crazy?
Yeah, great question. It was the fortunate things is like in my years of, I always knew I wanted to work. So from the
Mm,
moment I could at sort of 15, I was a cocktail barman in a restaurant where I didn't take cash because they only took cash in the restaurant. There was no separate bar. I did summer jobs pulling plastic off of salt and pepper pots and all this kind of stuff in a factory. And one of the jobs that I did was, rightly as you said, Zenith Windows that we have in Essex. So the training that I got on day one was, you are going to have to get 99 no's to get one yes. So my brain and mentality said, right, I've got to find 99 no's. So every time someone just called me a twat or called me a wanker or put their phone down on me or, left me sitting there on for 30 seconds while they just basically played like they'd hung up or gone on somewhere. My goal was like just ticking off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Every single no was one step closer to that success, which I think, as I think back now, that's probably the NLP saying that sticks with me is there is no failure, there's only feedback. And it's like, you have to keep finding the failures in order to get closer to the success. And I think that was bred from that hardcore sales kind of environment and of just banging the phones as hard as you could. But as you said, I realized very early, I think one of the first or second appointments I did in that mortgage sense was like, call you up. Hey, Adam, yep, let's do a mortgage. Great. I'll come around and see you. 60 minutes in the car to get there. Absolute waste of time. 60 minutes back home. And I was like, right, I'm never doing that again. The second call was like, right, what are we doing? Blah, blah, blah. Send me a couple of documents, got some commitment, and almost went out with sort of 50% of the work done. And then it was like 80% of the work done. Then I was going there just to get some signatures. And I was like, well, now I'm in the house for 20 minutes and I'm drinking your tea and having a coffee for no real reason. Just pull the trigger and, don't even meet these people. There was no internet or Zoom or anything around back then, really.
Love it. Love it. Do you feel like, from your experience, do you feel like you created this like rhino skin, this thick skin, and the more no's that you got, you kind of like, did it prepare you to kind of like continue to move forward to get those yes?
Definitely. Yeah. It's you've kind of got pain or gain, haven't you, really? And it became that thing of feeling the pain led to more gain, really.
When you were building Active Financial, like during that sort of 10-year transition, I mean, from your perspective, I mean, you achieved huge amounts of things, right? I mean, to achieve and build a 7-figure business over that period of time, I mean, that's quite an achievement. And obviously to walk away from it is obviously tough, right? But I'd love to know, like, in your 10-year tenure, if you like, at the helm, what sort of sacrifices did you have to make when building that business? Like, and sort of what were your thoughts and thinking when you were, get from the time that you were getting up to the time that you went to bed?
Yeah, it's the way I would describe it was I was just an idiot. I was, for want of a better word, I was arrogant with the mindset that nobody in the business or anyone that I recruited could do it as well as me. I thought that doing more and working harder and longer hours would technically make me more money. I didn't learn about leadership or delegation or any of this sort of stuff that I have done since 2016. But the short sort of history was 2009, started doing insurance. Later that year, I let my best mate buy in because he was a good salesman. We didn't split our roles. So when I went on a honeymoon for 2 weeks in 2011, with both of us doing 9 till 9 for 2 years, we took our first couple of employees on. We then scaled the team to around about 7. But, I was in the office every day from 9 till 9 because I still thought that's what I should. And slowly but surely, he wasn't. And we never sat down and devised, these are your roles and responsibilities. These are my roles and responsibilities. And this how is we're going to drive forward. We were both trying to drive the car and it was just causing a car crash. So I bought him back out in 2011 and then sort of kept my PA, got rid of everybody, kept my PA and started again in sort of later years of 2011. And then up until 2015, carried on building the team. But the life insurance companies that I was still buying the leads from, doing no emails, doing no marketing, purely spreadsheet basis. If I spend X, it will get me this amount of leads. If I convert this many leads, it will make me this amount of pounds. The life insurance companies started multi-selling the leads. People started sacrificing commission. The business model just became much harder and much more volatile. And I wasn't managing my advisors as well as I should because I didn't really understand. I was just like, military. This is what you got to do. Why aren't you freaking doing it? And managing everybody with a military mindset rather than realizing that people have different personality profiles and not everybody is like me and likes a solid kick up the arse. Um, and yeah, I made a hell of a lot of mistakes. I was back to work 3 days after my first daughter was born. Missed out
Wow.
on the holidays, various other little things because I was I had no passion or drive. I was chasing a pound note and I hadn't really, thought about vision, mission, or values, or even really where I was going. It was just a case of this is how much money I need. I'm going to do anything I can to kind of make it. And when I made it and got to that point of sort of 2015, and we built, we moved into this house that I'm in now. It was like, well, what
Mm.
the hell am I doing all of this for? We've got a great life, but I absolutely hate every day of it between the hours of 9 till sort of 8.
Right, right. Makes sense. Makes sense. What was your, just out of curiosity, what were your relationships like? Like with your wife and family, personal relationships as well as business. How are they? Did it have a knock on effect to the day to day that you were doing? Did it have a massive knock on effect to the relationships that you were creating, or should we say, not creating and nurturing?
Yeah, one of the things that I think I'm good at is I'm very much a prodigal of my own father, I suppose. I'm a product of my own father's doing. You know, he's very old school. He's 80 years old. My mum never worked. Proper old school kind of family values. She cleans the house and raised the kids, and that was her job for my brothers are 17 and 18 years older than me. My sister's 12 years older than me. I was a bit of an afterthought, shall we say? Um, but his whole attitude was, very unemotional, very sort of detached, which I now realize as I obviously get older, but I didn't really realize it at the time. Any emotional conversations were with mum, and he was very logical and sort of the business side of he would run the line at football and all that kind of stuff. So I
Mm,
carried that into my own relationship, and I literally would get out of my car outside the house and almost change as a human being,
mm,
and if Aisha
interesting.
asked me anything, it was just a case of, "No, everything's fine. I'm all good," and I might have so at some points I'd be crying on the way home, because it was just absolutely tearing me to pieces with the way of spending £20,000 a month on low quality life insurance leads that we needed to measure, monitor, and manage and manipulate to the nth degree to maximize every sale and every opportunity. And it was only during COVID, doing a podcast episode, that I kind of ended up telling her and saying, actually, 2015 was probably one of the worst years of my life. And she never even really knew.
Interesting. Interesting. Well, I guess that was a bit of a bit of a game changer, especially in the household, I suppose. Um, I know that when you kind of decided to scale back operations, with Active Financial, and I mean that first realization where you thought, okay, I've got to change, something's got to give here. What
Yeah.
was going through your mind? Like, how did you feel at that point of time before you kind of decided, "Do you know what? I'm making the decision. I'm gonna scale back." Like, what were you actually thinking at that time? What was your mind going through, and how was you sleeping and stuff like that? Love to get your insights on that.
Yeah. The sort of the end of 2014 was when I started to notice that things were going down the pan, shall we say, or not down the pan, but the conversions were getting harder. The business model was becoming tougher. The quality of the lead
Mm,
wasn't as good. I was sort of starting to diversify. And as you said, actually going back to your sort of last question, I think the reason why I could shut myself off at home was because I was taking all my anger out on the team in the office. So it was almost
mm,
that ability to, they were the ones who were dealing with the leads, and that was frustrating the hell out of me. So it was just like I was almost a horrible boss through the first, 6 months of 2015, and I was taking it all out there, which allowed me to then come home and kind of be like, actually, different person. Um, Surprised that the team actually stuck with me for as much as they did. To be fair, in hindsight, but crikey. Um, but what actually happened was in the obviously we had the credit crunch in 2009. Property prices started to recover. We moved in
mm.
2011, and then we wanted to move again in 2015 when our eldest daughter was starting school. So we wanted to move into the school catchment area. And
Got
I
it.
went to my bank and said, "Okay, we want to move home." And they basically said, "You can't." because you left all the profit in the business. And I'd been thinking through 2015, I've got to get out of this shit. I can't continue to do what I've always done because this is just killing me slowly but surely. It's not how I want to live my life, etc. And, law of attraction subconsciously, or, divine intervention, whatever you kind of want to call it. The bank saying no was like, that's an opportunity, because I'd made hundreds of thousands in profit. I just hadn't withdrawn it to dividends.
Got
So
it.
I phoned 180 lenders in 3 days in the July. Had a mortgage offer within sort of 14 days after my bank told me I couldn't do it. We moved into this house in the October of 2015. And I basically said to everyone, all 14 people on my team, you all need to find new jobs in the next 3 months because you're not going to have one by the end of this year. And I kept my PA again, and then started as a self-employed mortgage expert, having only done one mortgage, which was my own, and then started leveraging social media and stopped buying leads, was basically the gist of it.
Wow. And what sort of reaction did you get from your team, like when you told them that? Whether was it anger, or what was it like?
I think for some of them it was probably relief
Really
because of the way in which I
interesting.
was being or treating them. But it was amicable in the sense of the way obviously the life insurance world works, for example, is we might do a
Mm,
life insurance policy today and some of those would pay in 2 weeks. Same with the
got it.
mortgage. You do a life insurance policy today. If someone's got medical conditions or something like that, it might take 3 months for it to go through the doctor's surgery. We do a mortgage for somebody today. It takes 3 months to 6 months to complete. So I knew that I had work in progress and a pipeline of business that was going to would carry us through till the end of the year. But I knew that that pipeline would disappear by
Mm,
January. So I think from an integrity point of view and my point of view, I was like, I don't just want to close the doors and keep all that money to myself. And slowly but surely, people were able to find jobs that they really went to. And there was an element of, some of them were relieved that perhaps I'd found another way of moving forward, because we got quite a good relationship. And I think having
yeah.
seen it when it was easy, and we were going out, we were having fun. It was like I was going to say it was like a Wolf of Wall Street, but it wasn't in the slightest. We didn't have any drugs or strippers or hookers or anywhere. But it was like we were having fun. We were living a good lifestyle. We were going out. We were having drinks. We were enjoying our Friday nights. We were a sales environment, so we did ring a bell and stuff like that to keep the energy high. So people were here, and then because of the quality of lead, we were all of a sudden down here, and then I was down there, and then I was barking. So I think they knew that something was up, and I was quite open and honest, as you said
Mm,
earlier on my socials. I generally am,
yeah.
but they couldn't really do anything to help me. So the fact that I found a solution out of it, and then gave them the autonomy and
Mm,
time to find something new for themselves, I think we're still kind of. If I see them all now, I'm perfectly fine with them in the street and all that kind of stuff.
cool. Cool. Did you ever feel like there was like a particular person that was very resentful or remorseful towards you, or and sort of how did you deal with it?
Not that I can particularly remember. Um,
Mm,
I think the thing that the mistake that I made, Adam, was everyone that I recruited from 2009 until 2015 had zero experience in life
wow.
insurance, critical illness, income protection, or even the industry. Because I
Yeah.
thought, if I get someone who's better than me, my own ego in that sense, I trained them to do the job. I had sort of trained them my way. Um, so I think there was no kind of resentment because I'd given them that opportunity to kind of come in, and I was
Right.
letting them leave sort of amicably. But again, stupid mistakes on my part, because that's the thing that I've done differently now. Is everyone on my team has got way more experience and he's way better than me at so many different things.
Love it, love it. How did you, just out of curiosity, how did you like embrace your new life after scaling back operations? Like, what did you discover about you?
Bit like going self-employed, a bit like getting rid of my business partner, a bit like getting rid of the team after sort of I bought Max out and stuff like that. And again, the finding the no's would lead to a yes sort of mentality.
Mm,
My dad was always very much, grab a piece of paper, draw a line down it, advantage, disadvantages, good, bad, whichever side is bigger is your decision maker to kind of move forward, because you can't sit
mm,
procrastinating for forever. So it was just a simple line down a page, and whichever option is better is the one to go with it. So I never painted the
mm,
picture to my wife that it was bad as it was. And, having just doubled our mortgage, not cost ourselves any more money because of the way I extended the mortgage term and all that kind of jazz. We doubled our mortgage. We moved into a bigger house. My daughter was starting a new school. And then I'm starting a business all over again. I think the big thing, you asked me way back in 2006. I think if you're going to go self-employed, you just have to use the analogy, burn your boats. Do you know what I mean? You've just got 100% back yourself and go all in and just not look back. And that was kind of what I did. I closed the door on 2015. I actually got I probably got the drunkest I could have done on the 31st of December 2015 to say goodbye to that year. And January 1st with a horrendous hangover was just like, right, forget that. This is where we're going, and we're just focusing forwards.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. It's interesting. I'd love to, again, from being a company director of a 7-figure business to going back to self-employed, did you
Yep.
feel like it was like a massive backstep? Or did you feel like actually it was quite kind of the opposite? Because again, I guess it depends on how you define success, doesn't it, Gary?
Yeah, I think for me, it was almost like a rebirth and a chance to go again, but do everything different and
Got
not
it.
make the same
Got it.
mistakes that I had and take those lessons and sort of apply them differently. And I realize, now in hindsight and stuff, the biggest thing that I didn't do up until 2015 was any form of education. Now it's so freely available through TikTok channels or podcasts like this amazing one or audio books or, I didn't do any of that stuff until 2016. And in 2015, in sort of a year of self discovery, which I suppose I found Tony Robbins, and I sort of started watching a bit of NLP on YouTube and realizing that watching some of that stuff, I was the fucking problem. And it was me that had to change. I needed to sort of, as I say, close that door on 2015 and say, right, let's start again, but let's do things differently and give yourself an opportunity to sort of build things in a better way. So yeah,
Nice.
that question never even really entered my head. I never even had the thought of going from business owner back to self-employed. It was just a case of
Mm.
this is what I'm doing, and I'm doing it for this reason to change everything
Yeah.
going forward, I suppose.
It's interesting because I guess you've gone through some massive mental shifts,
Yeah.
over the years. With even kind of having to deal with like the passing of your mum and stuff like that, which you really were very open on social media about it. Um, how do you feel your mental capacity or the mental shift? How do you feel it's made you feel over the last years? Like, what have you seen? Like, how do you feel within yourself from making those shifts from one transition to another? What I'd love again, I'm trying to get your insight on that.
Yeah, 2016, I knew that I needed to change, and I did an NLP practitioner course, and I sort of started to learn business. That was the thing that I
Mm,
really realized. I've always had a work hard mentality because that's what I'd seen in my father for so many years. He was
sure.
running a 10 million pound a year business, but was still too involved in too many different roles because that was his own thing and super successful and stuff. But I thought hard work was what would create what I wanted, but it ended up creating something that I hated. So the hustle and grind mentality was what I had from 2016 right the way through until 2021. Still
Mm,
continue to work harder, but work smarter was kind of the mentality and the mindset. And then certainly over the last couple of years, because I missed so much of my first child's birth. When Willow was born in 2014, I was around a little bit more because I had to be because she was cesarean. So it sort of forced me to help out a little bit more at home, and Emily was going to nursery and things like that. But when Hunter
yeah.
was obviously born in 2018, we were now in this house and we'd sort of come out of I was in the new world, should we say, of my rebirth back into mortgages after a 7-year outage. And having two others, that forced me to be at home that little bit more again. And then we
Mm,
had obviously lockdowns. So then we were all
mm.
forced to be at home. And that really, really sort of since, And that, yeah, really since 2020, seeing him grow up more than anything else, and being at home a hell of a lot more, made me realize how much I'd missed over the previous years. But also then losing mum early 2022, it completely shifted my mindset into, I actually value time more than money. And it was a real big kind of wide awakening. And I think equally it is easier to say that because I'd had some relative success financially again, in that point. So it's much easier to say you can value time over money when you've got money. When you're
Exactly.
starting a business, you can't. But
Yeah.
now I am out and out a lifestyle based business owner. I don't have desires necessarily of building a huge empire or anything at all on those lines. I don't have a passion. I don't like mortgages. I don't like property particularly. I've done it for 19 years. All this passion, purpose bullshit is I think is literally bullshit. There aren't many Ben Francises who can love making clothes and then end up building £1 billion or $1 billion fitness brand in Gymshark. There isn't many personal trainers like Joe Wicks who start an app that now is the most famous personal trainer, even though he's not very good, in the world. We don't get that luxury. But what I
True.
do enjoy more than anything else is solving people's problems. I look at, a mortgage is a puzzle. I love puzzle solving. I didn't play them as a kid, but solving problems, helping people to move forward, to get better results, to make their biggest financial decision in their life, to achieve more mentally, physically, financially, whatever it is. That's the sort of stuff that really lights me up. And that's why I was able to do, or why I'm able to be in the mortgage industry for such a long period of time, because it ticks a lot of other boxes, even though I don't really like the product or the service.
Mm. It's very insightful. This is really cool stuff. I'm gonna shift the conversation actually, if I may, because I mean, what's really interesting about your story is that you've probably carried out every lead generation strategy on the planet, right? You know what works, you know what doesn't work, you know what you like, you know what you hate, right? You probably are what we call the king of going through that. Like, and I'm sure that a lot of people that are listening in are probably are really super grateful to listen to this conversation, because I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned based on building a business, right? So lead generation, what have you found over the last, and even though the industry has changed somewhat, COVID has changed things a lot. There's a lot of things that's changed stuff. But let's just go present time. What would you say last 12 months? What are the, should we say, most effective lead generation strategies for advisors, consultants, people that want to build a business? What do you enjoy the most? What are the things that people should stay away from? Right? Maybe it was something that you did in the past that you thought, fuck that. Don't do that. Right? Just don't do that. Okay. Do this instead.
Yeah, definitely. So social media has obviously changed a lot since 2016, when there wasn't as much noise as there is online. There wasn't as many social media channels. So I still think it's highly important, particularly if you're starting from the beginning, to pick one social media channel that you can really master. And that one social media channel initially should be the most likely that your clients are hanging out on. And it's very different to someone who's a solo person, a self-employed individual, maybe just one or two people, they've got a bit of a PA or something like that, versus someone who's got a 10-person business, because you can afford to outsource and invest that little bit more as a larger team. So as a solo person, where's your ideal client hanging out? And most likely LinkedIn is probably going to be one of the best places, because the algorithm still gives you reach outside of your followers. But I'm a huge fan, particularly for anyone in small business, of leveraging long form into short form. And with the wonders of AI now, as it stands today, like, so much that I've trained since 2019. So since March of 2019, I've worked with more than 700 financial services professionals or professional services businesses. But so much of what I've trained has just gone now, because AI can make 80% of the work, so much easier. So what I do, and I think is the most efficient way for, for us as individuals, where possible, record one YouTube video or something like this every single week. Um, Rip the audio and put it out on the podcast channels for those that don't want to watch. And I don't particularly watch YouTube, but I will listen to Spotify or Apple or wherever, because it's easier to do on the go. So if you create the video, you can rip the audio and put that on a channel. You can then, using various AI plugins, you can get the transcription into ChatGPT, and you can then utilize that transcription to then create a blog, an email to send to your list, some social media promotional posts. You can, create some, I was going to say Twitters, but they're not X's now. I don't even know what we call them. Some tweets.
X's,
What are they
yeah.
called it? Well, X's.
I
Who
think
knows?
and they are X's. They must be X's or
Yeah.
X's, noughts and crosses. Noughts and crosses there.
Yeah, exactly. But from that, the beauty of that as well is if you leverage AI, the thing that's going to really fudge people up in the future with AI is when you go to AI and you say, write me a blog on X topic. Because if I did that and you did that, it would pull the same data and information from the same sources, and they would sound very much similar. Whereas when you do it from your transcription and your own voice, and you say to AI, here's the transcription, create me an email maintaining tone of voice and, language patterns, sentence structures, it can then pretty much create something because you've given it that sounds and, is like you. And then that has the ability. There's even, I don't know if you use this, so this might be one for you, but if you put a video onto YouTube, there's an AI called Opus Clip that will essentially take any YouTube video, depending on length, and turn it into, 10 short form pieces of video based content. It can still require some editing after that, but you can get that done on Fiverr or people per hour if you're still that solo person, or like me, I've got a full-time sort of videographer, and then I've equally got a full-time marketer doing the Google and the Facebook ads, etc. But collectively, between the three of us, that content is getting put everywhere. And you can even ask the AI, to suggest 5 YouTube titles, to suggest hashtags to go with the YouTube description, to suggest 3 to 5 word thumbnails, because your thumbnail obviously what captures the attention. You don't want it to say just the same thing as your YouTube title, etc. And as I say, the thing is it can help in the thought process, but equally speed up your time investment, which means that you can, repurpose long form into short form and actually just get yourself out there farther and wider than absolutely possible.
Love it. Some good stuff. There's some really good stuff. So, some good tips there, ladies and gents. Really conscious of time now because me and Gary could be pretty much here for hours speaking about conversations. We've just got a lot of not only have we got things to catch up on, but listen. Hopefully, for you guys that are listening in, that you've heard some great lessons from Gary, because I think there's just a lot. It doesn't matter if you're advisor, consultant, coach, whatever it is, healer, whatever. There's just a lot of insights, a lot of things that you can absorb there, and there's a lot of lessons to be learned. And one of the things that I learned, especially from this conversation, and in fact a lot of conversations, and I've done over 1,000 podcasts, by the way, is you just never know enough. You just never know enough. And being able to get useful insights from not being able to make mistake or learning from other people's mistakes so that you don't learn them yourself or don't embed them in you is so hypercritical. What do you think about that, Gary?
Definitely. I think learning vicariously through the mistakes of others is by far cheaper than trying to figure everything out for yourself. It was one of the things that I learned sort of 2016. I was like, right, what do I need to learn? Okay, I'll pay this person to teach me that. I'll go to this person to teach me this. And that's really more expensive because you're paying someone for a bit of one-to-one time or small group time, but everything's going to either cost you time or money. And for me, you pay a little bit of money up front, but you shortcut the time to get the result and the outcome. And our time is our most valuable asset. So yeah, I totally agree with what you said.
Just out of curiosity, like I suppose my last question is I mean, it sounds like you're having a bit of a ball now. Like you're in a happy place. Gary's happy place, right? With his team. You got a good lifestyle. I know that you had a baby about 6 months ago, if I'm not mistaken. Everything seems on the outside, hunky dory, if you like. Where do you see yourself going over in the next 5 years? Like, how do you see that there's going to be sudden changes, or are you just going to kind of like stick to what you got and make sudden refinements?
Yeah, I've kind of gone back on my journey and looked at, 2016 was a year of relearning the industry. 2017 was a year of networking and getting out of the social media world and sort of seeing some people face to face. 2018 was a year of restructuring systems and processes. 2019, a year of recruitment. 2020 for all of us was a year of just riding the wave, dealing with whatever came our way. 2022 was just a year of survival because I lost my mum and as the baby came 2 months
Of
early.
course.
And this year's been a complete year of restructure. So
Mm,
I looked at my business that I'd sort of created. I've sacked off. I bought into a will writing company. I started a couple of other business opportunities. I've closed
mm,
the doors on so many things that I said yes to because I had more time to sort of think and do. And this year's been a year of restructure, re-recruitment, sort of getting a much more solid foundation. And next year is just wholly and solely a year of profit. So we've got a good, I've got a good team of 22, I think now. 10 of those are based up and down the country because I recruited them during COVID and, some of high as
nice.
Scotland as far west as Wales. But, I've taken on 7 people in the last sort of 6 months. So it's really about embedding them in their roles, getting everyone confident and comfortable in where they're at. And obviously my other business is my training business. I run a mastermind for financial services professionals every month. That's really what I truly enjoy because it's like you say, it's teaching those people not to make the same stupid mistakes that I did. And I'm an avid learner and an avid implementer, and I get to teach them the stuff that actually sort of comes out and works. So
Mm.
yeah, next year is holidays every half term is the goal. Saying no to more things that I don't enjoy, and just trying to slowly but surely enjoy the journey of business growth because actually it's that's been the biggest realization for me. I put so much emphasis on money and the goal that is what led me to being trapped into building something that I hated. Since 2016, I've focused more on just the journey, and I've had way more happiness in that because I'm 42. My dad still works at 82. Why am I trying to do everything tomorrow? Why am I trying to do everything next year? As you said right at the very beginning,
Mm.
Rome wasn't built in a day. So if we actually just give ourselves a little bit more time, we take the time pressure off, and we don't go as grey as quick, and we or as get as many wrinkles, and we actually get some time to enjoy what we're trying to achieve.
Exactly. No, it's a good point, actually. It's a really useful point. Guys, listen, I hope that today's been really useful. First of all, Gary, just want to say thanks so much for being on the show. I think you've shared some great stories. And it's just been really, really great to jam. We can't be here in person or whatever it is, because I'm in sunny Cyprus. Sorry to rub your nose in it, but you kind of knew that anyway.
I did.
But listen, it's been an absolute ball, mate. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me, and I hope the audience obviously got some value from it. It's been a pleasure, and I'm glad we got to do it in the end. And I look forward to having you on mine in the not too distant future.
Definitely. Well, guys, listen, hope you've enjoyed mine and Gary's conversation. If you have, please do me a favor. Go over it. There's the show description notes. Follow Gary over on social media. If he doesn't respond, which he probably will, but one of the team will respond in due course. Follow him over on LinkedIn, on YouTube. He's there. He's got his, and obviously his podcast as well. Make sure you go check out his podcast. By the time, again, depending on when you're listening to this episode, he may have already changed the name, but type in Gary Dash, you'll find it. He's done lots of episodes, all good. All right. So, word of warning, ladies and gents. But listen, in all fairness, it's been a great session today, guys. Hope you've enjoyed today's session. From me and Gary, take care of yourself, and we'll see you soon. Cheers now.